Hello everybody, and Jessica, and welcome back to Gundam, which from Mercury, episode 22. We are very much in the finale, in the last quarter of the second season, the last three episodes, right? 22, 23, 24, right? Correct. Unless, unbeknownst to me, the series has been extended either to 25 episodes or maybe some movie kind of deal, or maybe a second season, because season 1 and season 2 were essentially two separate courses of this same season kind of sort of deal. I don't know. From what I hear, Gundam shows usually have the structure of 2 times 25 episodes, which from Mercury seems to be an outlier, and the discussion on the internet is also as far from a consensus as it can be when it comes to whether the show needs an additional season or will it wrap everything up in the few episodes that are remaining. And I'm also kind of on a fence when it comes to that. On one hand, there's a lot of things, and my nails are purple because I've been eating berries. On one hand, um, the pace and the events of the show that are occurring right now would lead me to believe that it should wrap up in 24 episodes. Because Quiet Zero has already been revealed, and what more is left than charging straight into the Quiet Zero, defeating Prospera, defeating the Quiet Zero, reuniting with Ariel, or something of that sort, and returning to Asticassia, maybe, or founding a new school, or I don't know, returning to Earth or to Mercury, or any number of things can happen, of course. It seems fairly cut and dry, almost. Today's episode is gonna be the preparation for war, right? Suletta is gonna be shown Caliban, her new Gundam. Lauda is going to run off with Schwarzette. Some shenanigans going on at Quiet Zero, maybe another attempt at an attack, or maybe Prospera doing her things, right? In general, a preparation, and perhaps the last few minutes of the episode, although I don't think that's going to be the case, the clash. Episode 23 should probably be the clash, whatever it might be. It might be some Toku no Jutsu, Prospera and Suletta talking it out. Maybe, it's still possible. Maybe a fight between Suletta and Prospera, right? Suletta in Caliban versus Prospera in Ariel, which would be tragic, honestly, for Suletta to have to fight her own sister and her own mother. But if there is no other way, then so be it, right? Or, any sort of other thing can happen. People have even been speculating that Caliban will suck Suletta in the way Eri was sucked into Ariel, and that Miorine will end up piloting Caliban with Suletta's consciousness inside, or all sorts of wild speculations, wild theories. So anything can happen. And episode 24 would be the wrap up and some not after credits, but maybe even in an after credits form. Where are they now kind of deal, right? Rebuilding Asticassia, maybe Delling waking up, maybe Miorine taking over his responsibilities, with Suletta or without Suletta, that kind of deal. So it would fit into 3 episodes. On the other hand, though, I took my sweet time talking about one side of the coin, didn't I? On the other hand, though, it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect another season. Maybe not full another 25 episodes or 24 episodes, but 12 episodes wouldn't be, unwelcome. Because there are still multiple threads that remain hanging and that we could explore. Right? Perhaps Lauda and Schwarzette will not be wrapped up in those 3 episodes, and that's going to be another arc, so to speak. There's the whole thing with the Benerit Group and how the politics of that will work. The whole thing with the war on Earth. Of course, everything could be wrapped up with just a time skip and an after-credit scene, right? Earth is in prosperity using gun technology for prosthetics and everybody's living happily ever after, that kind of deal. But we could also have another 12 or even maybe 24 episodes of the fallout, of the fall off of the events of the first half of the first season. It wouldn't be unreasonable, but I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle almost. Like, when the show is done, when it finishes, I wouldn't mind like 4 to 6 episodes of an OVA of the wrap up to show the situation on Earth, to show the situation at the Benerit Group, at the Space Assembly League, what are they doing, all the politics, right? That kind of stuff. I wouldn't mind that. So, we still don't know how it's gonna end and if it's gonna end in this season. But yeah, I talked a lot about the future, so let's talk about the past, meaning the previous episode. Previous episode, what happened? Well, of course, the big battle at Quiet Zero, Space Assembly League, or whatever they're called, got information from Pale. Pale is a turncoat, what a surprise. And they went against Quiet Zero and got completely wiped out. Because all of the technology uses Permet, and Eri, especially empowered by Quiet Zero, can control anything Permet. So there could only ever be a single outcome of that. And that outcome, of course, came to be. Of course, all of those people were killed in space, which is, I guess, a little interesting maybe that Eri has absolutely no qualms against that. You'd think that with, I don't know, but something tells me that Eri and Prospera might actually share the same goal and share the mindset of ends justifying the means, kinda. Previously, I was kinda thinking of Eri, of Ariel, as maybe not entirely a pawn to Prospera, but fulfilling Prospera's demands, Prospera's wishes, right? Now I see that Eri is complicit and complacent in what she's doing, because she could have just stopped at disabling those ships. Just disable them, disable their weapon systems, and they're not gonna be a threat. Just leave them hanging in space. Just turn off their weapons and you're gonna be safe. Just as safe as if they were dead, but you don't actually kill people. But Eri, perhaps directed by Prospera, or perhaps of her own volition, just murdered all those people. So that's interesting. That really changes my perspective on Eri. It really does. Perhaps she's also driven to be able to live in this world at all cost. And both Prospera and Eri being caring towards Suletta is them being caring just towards Suletta. Suletta is family in one way or another, so she matters, so we want to protect her, yada yada yada. All those people arriving and trying to stop our plans They aren't friends. They are enemies, so they deserve to die, and we have no qualms about that. Uh, Perhaps a little bit of that sort of morality, right? Protecting ours, and whatever happens to the others is just none of my concern. Very interesting thing that happened. Of course, the main theme of the first half, at least, of that episode was rebuilding. Maybe not rebuilding, but kind of dealing with the aftermath of the destruction of Asticassia. Suletta bringing people blankets, bringing them tomatoes she grew with Miorine and stashed neatly under the floorboards, raising the morale, raising the hope of the people. It really shows that Suletta was a certain rescue, a first responder kind of a person back on Mercury, because her mindset immediately just switches into action mode. That episode also marked Suletta being proactive for the first time. It was by the end of the previous episode, so episode what, 20? Yeah, at the end of episode 20, when Suletta was moving the rubble, right, saying there might still be people under the rubble, we should help them. And the first half and the entirety of the previous episode really shows that switch in Suletta to proactive mode from just reactive mode. From someone tells me to do something, so I do that, someone asks me, so I do that, something happens, so I counteract, to proactive mode, to I'm gonna grab the tomatoes and I'm gonna give them away because that's gonna boost morale. I'm gonna start saving people, right? A really, really cool bit of character growth for Suletta, absolutely. And of course, Caliban, that I mentioned at the beginning, the monster Gundam, supposedly, who has no permit filter, whatever that is. It's kind of hard to speculate on permit technology since we know absolutely nothing about it. It's just technobabble. But it's implied, I guess, that permit filters are something that protects the pilot from data storms somewhat, at least. Not completely, but somewhat. Perhaps without the data filter you can enter permit 1 and be fine, and with a data filter you can enter permit 2 and be fine, but higher than that you're still gonna get fucked up. Maybe. Caliban doesn't have that filter, and they are proposing that Suletta pilot it and go against Prospera and Eri. Interesting tidbit. I didn't know about that. I knew about Witch from Mercury being more or less of a reference to revolutionary girl Utena. Haven't seen Utena, but I just might. Yeah, I knew about that reference, but apparently this show also references The Tempest by Shakespeare, with the names, right? Prospera from Prospero, and Caliban from Caliban. Caliban in The Tempest, again, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't read The Tempest, but I see that I probably should. Caliban in The Tempest was falsely accused of being a monster. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So perhaps the lack of permit filter in Caliban will actually give Suletta some sort of an edge. She is a clone of Eri, and Eri was able to interface with permit technology, with Gundam, fully, without suffering data storms. Maybe Suletta has a little bit of that, and maybe the lack of permit filter will actually help her, because a piece of a macadamia nut in my mouth. Sorry if I'm sniffing a little bit. It's, the weather's changing all the time and I'm getting a little bit of a sniffle. What was I on about before the nuts? Caliban permit filter. Right. filtering always introduces a little bit of a resistance, right? Whatever you're filtering, the filter introduces resistance. So perhaps Permet filter actually protects you from the effects of Permet 2, for example, but once you enter Permet 3, you're getting hit doubly so because you need to put much more effort into entering Permet 3 because the filter is blocking you. Perhaps without the filter and with Suletta's innate abilities that she might or might not have, entering higher Permet scores will be easier. Maybe. It's just speculation on my part. But yeah, they wouldn't have mentioned Caliban. They wouldn't have named Caliban Caliban, and they wouldn't have mentioned the lack of Permet filters if those things weren't relevant. So they are, somehow. Another similar name to Caliban is Caliburn, Caliburn, whatever you want to pronounce it. One of the swords of King Arthur, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure which, because there's the sword of the lake and there's the sword of the stone. I believe the sword of the lake is Excalibur and the sword of the stone is Caliban, or the other way around. Sometimes both are called Excalibur, and you can kind of see this similarity in the name of Excalibur, Caliburn, right? Right? There is something, so maybe they are both the same sword. I don't know. Maybe something from that angle. But then we haven't really had much of Arthurian mythos in the show yet. Mostly Utena and Shakespearean mythos. A little bit of that, a little bit of Tempest, a little bit of whatchamacallit, whatever, some other things. Some people even look for Suletta and Miorine, as in Romeo, and Suletta, but I don't know, maybe there is something to it, but I'm not sure. And of course, the last moment, we are approaching 20 minutes, holy shit. The last moment of the previous episode, Lauda facing Schwarzette and pointing all the bad things at... Was it at Miorine or at Suletta? At one of them. Because of course he did. Because of course nobody else is at fault. Someone analyzed it a little bit, I believe on Reddit, once it went up on the r/Gundam subreddit, that Lauda doesn't have any other people to blame, because obviously he can't blame his father, he can't blame himself, so who is left to blame? Mio. He's blaming Miorine. Also, from the outside perspective, Miorine is kind of fucking ruthless. If you're not in the know of what's actually going on, Mio just went to Earth under the guise of peace talks, then whipped out some weapons, started shooting, started the war, got a lot of support from the Benerit Group, and became the Benerit Group's president. If you're not in the know of what actually happened, that's what Mio looks like. So it makes sense that Lauda would be like, well, Miorine is clearly fucking scum, so she's probably responsible for everything, so I'm gonna go get Schwarzette and go against Miorine. Is that all? It better fucking be, because we're approaching 20 minutes, as I said. That's probably one of my longest intros to a show, longest intros to an episode, for sure. Yeah, I think that's it. So we should probably just start watching. That was a lot of talking. Okay, before we start watching it, of course, you're gonna need your subs to follow along with me. I'm gonna need my sound to hear what's going on, and I'm gonna have to ask you for your support, monetary, for example, on Patreon, linked in the description below, or not. Share my content, spread the word, it costs you absolutely nothing and still helps the channel a lot. And with that out of the way, we can start watching episode 22 of Gundam Witch from Mercury in 3, 2, 1, go. Whomst. Oh, those are Gandvolvas. Yep. Also, Quiet Zero is shaped kind of like a coffin, and the red lights are kind of like skulls. Figure. Oh, last time on Dragon Ball Z? Lorentz Force. I remember that from physics. It has something to do with electromagnetism? I'm not sure. Okay, turning the torpedoes back. Boomerang system from, what's it called? The RTS game with robots. How can I not remember the name? Not Planetary Annihilation. Supreme Commander. Supreme Commander had a building that would allow you to override enemy nukes and redirect them back to sender. Thanks for killing all those people, oh daughter of mine. And Mio is sulking, isn't she? Of course she is. Okay, straight into the opening. Also, interesting thing, interesting parallel. Also, I'm not taking credit for it. Someone on, maybe it was Tumblr, maybe it was Reddit. I'm not sure. When Reddit was mostly down, I was browsing Tumblr for Witch from Mercury content. So someone noticed the how Miorine and Suletta are kind of opposites. Miorine is calm and collected when nothing bad is going on, and then when shit hits the fan, she completely breaks and falls apart. Meanwhile, Suletta, she breaks and falls apart when nothing is going on and just, you know, stutters and stammers for no reason. But when shit hits the fan, she just serious face and just goes robot mode. Well, not robot mode, but you know what I mean. She just takes everything head on and is calm and collected, and you know, we gotta do this, and this. Very, very opposites, and it's cool. It's cool. Also, one more theory. Miorine and Suletta pilot Caliban together and share the data storm load, and that's how they win, by being together. The opposites yin and yang coming in together to, you know, defeat the monster or whatever. Sorry. Well, you better do a no damage run. Why? Watch the solution to everything be that the Roji just fucking hacks Quiet Zero and turns it off. Okay, everybody wants on board. Nobody does. I wonder how close will Caliban actually be to Tempest's Caliban. And of course, Elan 5 rejoined us. Or, well, not rejoined us, but joined us, rather. No, he escaped and came back, so whatever. Elan is really taking all of that in stride, isn't he? Oh, that's interesting. So the list was things that... Okay. Even Suletta's dreams and goals were created by her mother. Holy shit. That's a huge reveal, actually. Right, give her the keychain back. Probably charging up. She needs her wife. That's what she needs. It better be Suletta. Too close. Or maybe not Suletta. Who, then? Shadiq is imprisoned, so not... Oh, okay, so it is Suletta. I didn't know they are at the same place. Yeah, actually. It's gonna be anything but straight. Yes, Shadiq, let's duel. Shadiq, fuck, duel. With what? Oh, space fencing? Okay, sure. And that's a very different vow. Well, not very different, but kinda different. Okay. And hit. First blood. That's... Sure. Sure. Space fencing. Why not? Please give Caliban a rapier. Okay, finally some reaction. Okay, she has the holder costume again. Okay. I mean, you can at least support her, or, you know, the opposite if you really want, but do something. A person, strictly speaking. And Sophie kind of died of data storm. But sure, okay. It was the right thing to do, actually. Both cases. That's also true. Yep. A nice riff on her usual. Uh, some people are gonna like that shot very much. A nice riff on her usual mantra. Move forward even if you don't get any. Well, that's a given. She's your wife after all. Well, fiancée, but. Let me dress up first. Or not, okay. No dressing up. Just, I need to open my door by myself. I need to break out by myself. That's some nice symbolism. Breaking out of her shell by herself. You don't look good, Miorine. You could use a nice brushing of your hair at least. Hug? Something? Just a helping hand. Okay. That shall suffice for now. Nice curly grab. There's that symbolism of a threshold, like in the greenhouse. Right, so there is still something relevant to Quiet Zero at Plant Queta. Also interesting that Miorine didn't question Suletta having the holder suit again. Nobody questions it, actually. Oh, he did? Okay. Well, that's good news. And Miorine also became a little more, um, self-driven, headstrong even a little bit. Okay, what do you have at Plant Queta? And why didn't Belle and that guy from the feds do anything about it? They were headed to Plant Queta and they didn't do anything about it? Ah. Okay, so they did. They did steal whatever was necessary. Good, okay. That's gonna delay Quiet Zero at least a little bit. Oh, Gandvolvas? Is that what was stored at Plant Queta? She needs enough Gandvolvas to surround Earth? Probably. It's pretty much only aerial. Meaning? Okay, so essentially manual control. Instead of relying on permit, you actually like move the levers and shit. Yeah, if she operates a Gundam, it's possible that she will suffer a data storm. It's Plant Queta? Yeah, it's Plant Queta. Yep, who else? To gain 2. What kind? What does Shadik even have that he could give you? Spiritual support, I guess? And a new ship is born. What is it exactly, though? Okay, so they know what kind of a tomato it is. Oh, a gift from her mom. Okay. Storing messages in the genetic code of a tomato. Sure. Hopefully not a death flag. What about the keychains? What about the keychains, Suletta? They were laying light right there on the bench. Did you give Miorine her keychain again? Okay, so I was correct about permit filters introducing some resistance. I mean, we don't know that yet. It's not like Suletta experienced the data storm. Only once when she was thrown out by Eri, but I'm assuming it was just Eri artificially increasing the severity of it. Red. That's bad. Screaming. That's even worse. And hyperventilating. A classic data storm. Is it gonna turn blue eventually? And no change in color. Okay, so once you break through score 5, you're essentially safe. Is that it? Maybe. It's scores 1 through 4 that can actually kill you. And if score 5 doesn't kill you, you can just use it. Is that it? Calibarn? Calibarn. Yeah, if Permit 5 had a negative effect on Suletta, she would already be dead. Data storms kill you in minutes. Plus, she's not hyperventilating, she's not in pain. So, yeah, once you clear score 5, you're safe. Eri is reacting. Okay, notifying. Okay, she is hyperventilating. I take it back. And the choral music coming on again. I don't fucking know, whatever. Oh, hello, Loda. Are you gonna fuck shit up? Guel versus Loda? Brother versus brother? Is Guel gonna end up killing his own brother as well? He better fucking not. Petra would be unhappy. Oh, and okay, that was a cool backpack for a Gant Volva. Probably some booster pack or whatever you can get to attach to your Gant Volva Gunpla. White. Okay, Eri came out. Is she going to fight Suletta herself, or... No, we're just talking. Okay, that's fine. Cue the credits. That episode felt like no time at all. This was really fast. Okay, so episode 23, we have the final confrontation. Probably a fake out win. Episode 23 ends on a cliffhanger fake out win. Episode 24 is the actual battle and the actual win. Probably. Anything new we can glean from the opening? Is it glean or gleam? I can never remember. Glimpse? No, glimpse is something else, isn't it? Ah, whatever. I'm not a native speaker, you need to forgive me. Blue permit patterns are really prevalent in the ending. Unrelenting tenderness. Well, that's a title and a half. And the whole gang is here. Okay, marching out. March out, rendezvous. Hey, I'm speaking fancy too. It's from How Applejack Won the War, if you're wondering. Great song, great AMV, highly recommend. Okay, regardless of that and the My Little Pony music fandom, how about we watch this episode again? Shall we? Yes, we shall. There's... On one hand, there's a lot to talk about, on the other hand, not much. Or perhaps I'm just having the impression that there is not much to talk about because it felt like no time has come at all. Yeah, probably why. Their designation systems via permit links are all green. I know, it's just technobabble, far as I'm concerned. Lorentz Force. Initially, I confused it with Coriolis Force. And I was wondering how the fuck does Coriolis force even work here? Oh, Lorentz force. It's the finger thing. Yeah. Yep. Okay, I remember now. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, it's the right finger, right hand rule. As the current goes in the direction of your thumb, the magnetic field goes in the direction of your index finger, and the force goes in the direction of your middle finger. Force exerted on a charged particle moving with velocity through an electric field and magnetic field. So electric field, magnetic field, if those are the directions, the particle is propelled in this direction. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a few years since I've taken physics classes. So, finally, not permet technobabble. Thank you. Thank you for not putting permet into everything. Lorentz force, that I can understand. I don't know what relevance does it have, but maybe missiles are acting as particles and Gundvolvas create electric and magnetic field to repel. Whatever. Guiding missiles, they can be re-guided, of course, they can be overridden. I was thinking that this is essentially last time on Dragon Ball Z, but no. The Space Assembly League simply parked their destroyers and battle cruisers and whatnot outside of the Quiet Zero perimeter and sent Gundams inside. So those are the remainders of the fleet. Contact lost, of course. 1/3 of the ships are inoperable. It'll take some time to reactivate the permet reactor. That's probably gonna be the key. Maybe. Either Tokno Jutsu or downtime between reactivations of the permet reactor. They will bait the activation of permet reactor. It's gonna be in a downtime, and then some hidden secondary force is gonna jump in and destroy Quiet Zero. Maybe. I'm not sure. And Eri is controlling it all. I've seen a cool concept art fan art of Quiet Zero also transforming into a Gundam, and it would be a nice Gundamception. Human controlling a Gundam. Miorine is broken, of course. See, many times when something bad happened to Suletta, I was like, oh, she's gonna be sulking now, she's gonna be broken, and then she just isn't. Right? She completely went against my expectations. I was expecting, oh, Suletta is surely gonna break, and no, she's sunshine and rainbows, saying that, oh, the only thing I can do right now is learn and get better, so that's what I'm doing, there's no point sulking. Then she sulks in her room a little bit, but goes out to scavenge for some food, gets pulled out, and gets, on her legs again. Then, was there any... Yeah, she is... No, that happened after she was thrown away by Prospera and Eri. But previously there were also situations when she was fake rejected... No. When she was fake rejected by Miorine, she also stood up very fast. Earlier on, there were also some situations when she was hiding from Miorine, right? She also was fairly active. What I'm trying to say is, all this time I expected Suletta to break, and she didn't. The person who actually breaks and shuts herself down and becomes depressed and wrapped up in a blanket and not giving a fuck about anything, just staring at a wall, is Miorine. The last person you'd expect that from. Very interesting. Very interesting how big of a duality is there, how big of a contrast, but also, how much they complement each other, Miorine and Suletta. In times of peace, Miorine has clear head, so she can think for them both, essentially. In times of unrest, Suletta has a clear head, so she can think for them both. When together, they do well both in times of peace and in times of unrest. Great. Two halves of the same apple. Opening. Is that Caliburn? No, Caliburn isn't blue. The Woven Path. I'm not sure about the meaning of the title. Chuchu wants Demi Barding, of course. It's for Suletta's sake, Don't was out. And you're gonna take him with you because he's curious about Quiet Zero. This is the list of animal care tasks. Those are the two that Chuchu punched in the first season when they were laughing and bullying her about being an Earthian, and then she gave them tomatoes. And there's a very nice meme with Chuchu being with all of them being depicted in Egyptian art style. It's somewhere on my Discord, so you might want to join it and look it up. It's also on Twitter and probably in some other places. It's interesting that they will be the ones taking care of the animals, you know? Very interesting. Also, all this in one day, it's a lot. Is it? It is? She's confused, right? Spatians getting a taste of the Earthian living, right? Oh, that's so much to do with these animals. How are we gonna do that? Meanwhile, the Earthian girl is like, oh, it's a lot now. It's like, you know, just some relaxation. It's just some daily chores and, you know, it's fun connecting with nature and all. Very cool. And she also wants to go with them. Guel forbids her, but she wants to get into action. Cool, that's good. Things have livened up. Nobody likes Caliburn. I wonder if they are really hammering in the Caliburn is a monster. Caliburn is a monster. Caliburn is a monster. Only for the Tempest bit of Caliburn is falsely accused of being a monster to resurface. I don't know. From what we've seen so far, at least, Caliburn actually does cause a data storm, actually does cause hurt to Suletta. So he does deserve the designation of a monster. Kinda, sorta. Not really. Not fully, at least. Enhanced persons are merely expendable parts for Gundams. Aren't you scared? You should just forget it. I am. This is a revelation. At first, they were just things Mom suggested I do, and for some reason I went along with them. Not even Suletta's own wishes. Not even Suletta's wishes were her own. Not that... I'm screen capping it. Not even Suletta's wishes and dreams were her own. All this time, we thought that, oh, sure, Suletta was sent here by Prospera, and Prospera had something, you know, something in mind. She had some hidden thing, whatchamacallit? I forgot the word, doesn't matter. She wanted to do something and that's why she sent Suletta here. But at least Suletta gets the chance to fulfill her dreams, her wishes. So it's beneficial to Suletta. No! Her dreams were also fabricated by Prospera. And now I want to rewatch the episodes, all the episodes. That's a lot, so I'm not gonna do that. And check whether or not by Suletta checking something off her list, by doing that, she actually helped Prospera in some way. I wonder if that's something that's actually happening, and nobody really pays any attention. Nobody really like placed any connection. I wonder if you feel like rewatching the entirety of this show, please do rewatch it and keep in mind whether that's true or not. How do I even note it down? Whenever Suletta does something to cross an item from her bucket list, it also helps Prospera. Oh boy. Suletta's dreams list are not her own. Holy shit. That's a huge revelation. At first, they were just things Mom suggested I do, and for some reason, I went along with them. You went along with them because she conditioned you to follow her orders and wishes and desires, so of course you did. But now, it's not because someone told me to, I want to do this. Yeah, now what I'm doing right now, it's not because someone told me to, it's not because I was forced to, it's not because I was asked to. I want to do that. I'm proactive. Something I'm doing comes from myself. It just spells out for you the change that happened in the previous episode, doesn't it? There's one more thing that I want to do, and she didn't in the end, at least not on screen. And for unclear reasons, Quasir is also inactive, yeah, because the reactor went down. Miorine hasn't come out of her room yet. He also says a student from Asticassia wants to see President Miorine. I initially thought those are two separate places, and maybe there's some other student from Asticassia. Maybe it's Cecilia doing something behind the, behind the curtains. But no, it turns out they are at the same place, and it's genuinely Suletta who wants to talk. Option unit from Burion. That's a ship right here. Just saying. If I don't see any ship drawings of those two by tomorrow, it's gonna be really weird. Testing Caliban. Do you think I'll let you see her? No. And Duel. This came completely out of left field. Completely and utterly. Space fencing. Probably with, I don't know, permets, whatchamacallit, sabers. No, those aren't sabers, those are rapiers. Probably permet rapiers. Every fucking thing is permet in this world after all, isn't it? Whoever scores the first hit wins, so first blood. Victory is never decided by one's social position alone. This is a very interesting line. What it implies, it really, both the setting, when we go back a little, right, very classical, so to speak, setting, and a fencing duel, it really sets up the image of like 18th, 19th century, 18th century, upper class, right? All the lords, all the dukes, all the counts and viscounts and whatnot, dueling together for some, for whatever reason, right? "Oh, you looked wrongly at the lady of my heart. Prepare to die, sir." You know, that kind of deal. And the setting looks very much like that kind of an era. They are fencing, so that's, another thing of that era. And the pledge: victory is never decided by one's social position alone. That implies dueling like that in person is something that's cross social class. I don't know, like a dirty pauper can challenge an archduke to a duel, and that's accepted. The archduke has to accept that duel. And the victory is not decided by their social position. If the pauper is better at fencing, he's gonna win against the archduke, essentially. So it's not decided by social position alone, and nor by one's skill alone. Sure, skill matters most of all, but if you're at a higher social position, chances are you've been trained in dueling, right? It's unlikely that the son of a pig herder himself, ever took any fencing classes. So he's probably not going to win against an archduke who's been learning fencing since age of 10. So it's it came completely out of left field. It completely doesn't fit. It just immediately took me out of my immersion. But it's somehow cool to have it here, you know? I know, and also reminded me immediately of Princess Principal. There was also some dueling there, and of a My Little Pony fanfiction, actually, that I'm reading right now, that also has some dueling with, sabers and stuff, and rapiers. And Twilight Sparkle has a rapier named Eclipse. What a coincidence. Also interesting that they are dueling this way. Very manual, very low tech, very no tech, essentially. It's just a piece of a metal rod and they are fencing with that. You'd expect that they would fence. My initial thought was that the costume and the helmet are because maybe they're entering some VR game, or maybe it's some motorbike jousting, or maybe they have some not full mobile suits, but kind of like the loader from Alien, kind of this size of a miniature mobile suit that they can use to duel, or something like that. Everything in this show has been very high tech. I don't think I've seen a sheet of paper or a pen or anything like that. Do they even use notebooks in classes? I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Everything's been so high tech so far. Fencing. Fencing. Just fencing. and and the fact that they say fixed release is just why? You're not releasing anything. And where did they get that gear from? They're in a hallway. They haven't really changed places. It just completely just bam, fencing. No, okay, let me grab my gear, or hey servant, fetch me fencing gear, or none of that. They're dressed normally and talking in the hallway, and then suddenly, let's duel, fencing, in a hallway, just like that. It really gave me whiplash. And of course, Suletta won, because of course she did. Just. And it also kind of makes me wonder why. Why have this scene? Duel could have just said, yeah, sure, go talk to Miorine. Sure, actually. Go ahead. You're probably the only person who can say something to her. I guess the only reason that it was an actual duel, actual like with a pledge and all of that, is to give Suletta her clothes back, her white suit. Probably. What a fool I am, he says, smiling barely. I don't know if he threw that duel, probably not, or maybe he did, I'm not sure. And a heart to heart, a little bit. I'm going to quiet Zero. That's the first thing since however long she shut herself down in that room, that actually got some reaction out of her. I'll meet with Eric. Interesting thing that someone also pointed out, that Suletta no longer references her as Eric, full name, no longer a nickname. Or, well, a pet name. Eric, full name. I've relied on Mom and Eric for everything all this time. Making this choice alone is really scary, so maybe you could support me at least. I can't. I can't give you a convenient pep talk because I myself am in need of a pep talk. You have to decide on your own. And of course, she keeps sulking that so many people were killed and injured because of her, pulling you away from your mother. That was actually a very good thing you did, because that started breaking Prospera's grasp on Suletta, so good on you for doing that. Mistake. I've made mistakes too, of course. I've killed people at Plant Queta. One person, if I'm not mistaken. I might be. I told myself it was for everyone's protection. It was, actually. It was the right thing to do. It was, again. And we were desperately doing recovery work. I realized something. Even if there's nothing to gain, I have to move forward. A great riff, a great kind of a deconstruction of her usual, of Prospera's actually usual mantra. If you run, you gain 1. If you move forward, you gain 2. Right? Oh, there is always some benefit. Notice that. I just kind of noticed it myself right now. Whatever you do, there is always some benefit. It might be a small benefit, it might be a big benefit, but there is always a benefit. Whether you run for a benefit, or you move forward for a benefit. None of that is selfless. Meanwhile, what Suletta realized here is that you have to move forward even if there's nothing to gain. You don't gain 1, you don't gain 2. You move forward and gain 0. And yet it is still worth it moving forward. Because if you stay in place, you reverse, you go back. It's a very much changed version of the mantra, and 2, it really changes the meaning. It really has it like offers a third outcome, kinda, sorta. Not gain 1, not gain 2, gain 0, and it's still worth it. And something's changing in the weather. There's probably a storm brewing or something, because holy shit, did it get stuffy. My forehead is like wet with sweat. Jesus, what's going on with the weather? It was fine when I was starting the recording. Okay, not much left, so I can manage. There's gonna be fan art of that, 100%. I don't want to make any more mistakes. That's also a very interesting worldview, one that I honestly can understand and can identify with. I don't want to make mistakes, right? When you do a thing, when you make a choice, it can be good or it can be bad, and I don't want it to be bad. My feel of that isn't really driven by any particular mistakes I've made, but Miorine's is. And give me a moment, because I need to turn on the fan because holy shit, it's so hot and stuffy in here. Okay, I'm back. If you can hear the fan, terribly sorry for that, but I just took a look at my thingamajig I have, and it's currently 26 degrees in the middle of the night, literally 2 in the morning, and 50% humidity. How? 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 I'm in Poland, not in the fucking tropics. Fucking change in whatchamacallit. Not environment. Sorry, I can't think in that heat. Okay, regardless. Let's come back to this scene. I've left you at Miorine's feet for long enough. I've only made it this far because I met you, Miss Miorine. Correct. Nothing about that was a mistake. Correct. And I was unsure if it's actually happening, but now that I jump like in 5 seconds increments, I can see that it's actually getting brighter and brighter. Interesting, because they aren't on any planet, so there isn't any like raising sun or some clouds passing. It's probably artificial lighting, but it gets brighter. Maybe Guel is like by the window listening in on them, and oh, this is gonna be a nice moment to start slowly cranking up the lighting. Make a fan art of it, please. Come with me to Earth. I'm not strong enough to face what I've done by myself. Of course she will. Of course she will come with you. Yeah, I'm not strong enough to face what I did by myself, but I cannot just ignore it. I have to face it. I can't do it on my own, so help me. Help me face my mistakes, my sins, and of course Suletta will do that. May I open the door? No. You may not. I will do it myself. I will break out of my shell myself. I'm not going to rely on anybody for that. I'm gonna do it myself. And she did. She still looks like she had a rough night of drinking, but she did open the door. And look at how timid she is, right? Arms behind her back. All that's missing is for her to drill a hole with her foot in the ground and be all bashful in front of Suletta. She did open the door, but she didn't make the step beyond the precipice. Suletta takes out her hand. Grab my hand, Miorine. She hesitates for a moment, but then she grabs it. First, delicately, right? Prince and the princess. Very, delicate. Can I ask you for a dance? Kind of a handshake. Not a handshake, but, hand grab. And then curly fingers. Not like fully curly fingers, but a little bit of, a little bit of a play of those fingers. Not straight out grab, straight up clasp. Only after a time, and then finally a firm grab, curly grab. And from that we can extrapolate that with that hand holding, Suletta will take Miorine through the threshold. So Miorine did open the door and break the barrier, and through that she was reconnected with her wife, and now her wife will help her go through that threshold. Cool. Probably there's a little bit more symbolism to that, but I'm probably not gonna see it all. So if there is any more symbolism that you can see in that scene, and I have no doubt there is, do let me know. I'm probably gonna read about it on Reddit as well, but hey, if you have any opinions, comments are right down there below. D index has exceeded 90. What the fuck is a D index? I don't know, and I don't care, and I don't think we are supposed to care. Recovery complete, all systems reactivated, and we're going to Plant Queta. It bothers me a little how nobody is bothered by Suletta wearing white again. Like, I think that somebody would have noticed. Somebody, just a passing, just a passing comment. Oh, hey, Suletta, are you a holder again? Oh, yeah, I actually did dual and I won, so he gave me the holder status back. Just something, anything. Because right now, with nobody acknowledging that, it kind of seems like the duel was for the sake of giving Suletta her holder status back. But the fact that she has the holder status has no bearing on anything. And thus, there was no reason for the duel. Right? It cheapens the duel. Because none of those scenes would be any different if Suletta was wearing her usual clothes. None of those scenes would change in any sort of a way. So, of course, with the holder status comes the hand of Miorine, of course. But the holder status itself is kind of completely disregarded here, completely dismissed. Your father woke up, and this came completely out of left field. I won't run, so I won't allow you to give up and die either, you lousy father. Is there a hint of a smile? There is a hint of a smile. Or at least a lessening of a frown. Plant Queta, what are those numbers? 0, 10, 0, 30, 0, 99. I know, probably coordinates in space where Plant Queta is. And they are here for something that's in that shaft. I don't remember what was in that shaft, I'm gonna be honest with you. But it's not there anymore, so hey, at least that is a good thing. Quiet Zero, current status summary. Data storm deployment level is only at 60%, so I'm assuming whatever was at Plant Queta, maybe it was additional generator, maybe it was more Volvas, I don't know, was supposed to raise the deployment level to 100%. Okay, can I read something here with this garbage fucking font? I need to turn off the subtitles first. Okay. Mobility. After restart, movement velocity of enemy base point is predicted to increase. Velocity of each enemy mobile suit also predicted to increase by average of 37%. Evasive maneuvers of main unit will be complex. Okay. Defensive functions. Strong air defense barrier confirmed around Quiet Zero main unit. Molding, making it difficult to approach. Defensive barrier strength numbers, very difficult to invade domain, while mutual defenses or base point and mobile suits are linked. Wide area data storm control functions, expands data storm domain and stabilizes it over a wide area. Domain is predicted to expand further in future. Permit dispersal system, permit dispersal index exceeds 200. It's over 200. Permit density times 27.1. Density increase is accelerating. Reinforced linkage between Quiet Zero main unit and Gund nodes. Increases interconnectedness of overall enemy. Each mobile suit appears to become a sub-base point. Base point and all Gund nodes are linked. Link multiplexing confirmed. Jamming impossible. Okay, so it moves and increases in speed rapidly, and also Gund Volvas are getting faster and faster. It has pretty much absolute defense because of the air defense and Gund Volvas and the data storm, and the permit dispersal system that increases in range more and more, but it has limits. The dispersal index exceeds 200, but I'm assuming if your permit score is even higher than that, it doesn't disperse anything, hence why Suletta was able to get inside and why she needed permit score 5. And the linking with Gandvolvas strengthens Quiet Zero strengthens the Gandvolvas, and the Gandvolvas strengthen Quiet Zero and each other. Essentially, the more there are in the hive mind, the more the hive mind itself is strong. Cool. I fucking hate this font. Genuinely, it makes it so hard to read. How can anybody in this universe bear every single computer they have using the same garbage font? You just use fucking Comic Sans or Papyrus. It would be so much better. Also, they are looking at a mirror image of it. That's an interesting detail, actually. We can read it, and Belle and this guy are on the other side, so they are reading the reflection of what's shown on this transparent screen. I wonder if it's going to be fixed on Blu-ray. I wonder. That's why Prospera Mercury has to go to Plant Queta to recover certain units. By units, do we mean an additional generator or something, or do you mean a cache of Gandvolvas? I'm not sure. Once it's fully completed, you can deploy a data storm capable of covering the entire Earth sphere. So Earth and its area of influence. So as far as human colonization, maybe up to, I don't know, Jupiter or at least Mars. Probably. Defensive fleet. The only machines that can move in the data storm are Gundams. Yeah, because you need to exceed the certain score. At score 8, you'll die instantly. And Farract was never designed to withstand such a high score load. Can't we use Schwarzet? Maybe, but Schwarzet is with Lauda currently. Demi Barding's option unit has a switchable cockpit space. Interesting. That Demi Barding is the only one that can be controlled manually, essentially. If you add a control system that doesn't use permit links. Beam Rifle plus Fist Vulcan, Beam Saber, okay. And Baori Pack, Badri Pack, probably Baori Pack, can be configured with various optional equipment evolved from the Daedalus multi-tool system, an exclusive expandable standalone pack equipped with flight unit functions, can also be separated from the main unit. Okay, thank you for fitting all of that on the screen. The only option we have, we're going straight to Quiet Zero. So Suletta draws the attention, meanwhile Choo-Choo in Demi Barding rushes in. Is that what they're planning? If so, I fucking hope Choo-Choo survives. I swear to God, if something happens to Choo-Choo, I'm not watching any more Gundam. I'm permanently crossing out Gundam from my to-watch list or watch later list. If something happens to Choo-Choo, we're gonna have an issue. I've been looking for Aerial Gunpla as my entry to the Gunpla world, and it's out everywhere in Poland. It's out of stock. And if something happens to Choo-Choo, I'm gonna stop looking. I'm never getting into Gunpla. You're gonna lose probably like $100 maybe. I can't see myself spending more on that, but you're gonna lose money. So nothing better happened to Choo-Choo, I swear. If Suletta operates the Gundam, it carries risks. Of course, I decided on my own. That's what matters. And if we deem the situation hopeless, we'll hand over the units immediately. So we're just gonna surrender if you are in danger. Makes sense. Emergency evacuation from Lagrange. Lagrange reminds me of something else, Gundam. I don't know what. It's just some vague neuron connection between the word Lagrange and some big piloted robots. all Benerit Group employees. Is it Asticassia or is it... No, it's Plant Queta, isn't it? Yeah, it is Plant Queta. So an evacuation of Plant Queta because Quiet Zero is approaching. Talking with Shadiq. Also, Miorine in the position of power, standing tall, and Shadiq sitting down. We aren't through yet. Even if I'm not able to do that, I decided to keep moving forward. Even if there is nothing to gain. She takes Suletta's new mantra. Trade. Believe in me. In exchange you get... Oh, nothing. A pack of cigarettes to your prison cell. You can maybe trade them or something. That's a ship. Here, I said it. I said it again, actually. Final adjustments. What is this thing? I don't know. It looks like a ball. A ball with thrusters. I have no clue what it is. We're probably gonna see it in the future, but currently I have no fucking clue. And Martin also grew a lot, right? He's facing the danger. I can't help. I can't let my housemates face danger by themselves. I'm the fucking house head. I need to protect them. I need to help them. Better nothing happen to Martin either. And a tomato. NR400 Anesidora. Is there actually an Anesidora tomato, I wonder? Anesidora. USCSS Anesidora is a ship from Alien. Okay. And also, yeah, an epithet of several goddesses and mythological figures in ancient Greek. The name itself means sender of gifts. She who sends gifts from the earth. Close enough. Also, both the keychains and Suletta never mentioned any, never gave any to Miorine. Also interesting, a new hair tie thing. Yeah, a new, like, she has her ponytail and then she kind of clips it like that to the back of her head. Cool, that's a cool look. Yeah, but I was supposed to look up if it's an actual tomato. Tomato. Anesidora tomato. No, the closest I was able to find is someone who played Anesidora Ivory on Rotten Tomatoes. Elizabeth Ahrens apparently played Anesidora Ivory. And Swirl Wine Ceres Anesidora 2016, so it's some sort of a wine. Yeah, Ceres Anesidora. Sure. The Ceres who gives. Why not? Roji looked it up, and this was in the genetic code. Apparently, I didn't know that you can... I mean, you can encode information in DNA. That's what DNA fucking does. If you use, like, what? Binary? No. 4-based numerical system, right? Yeah. DNA basically uses 4-based system. AGDC. D? T. AGTC. So 4 bits of data, and you can turn it to binary and to hexadecimal and turn it to Unicode or ASCII or whatever. Okay, yeah, makes sense. I will always be attached to you, Miorine, says Miorine's mother. Interesting. That's another thing in this episode that came completely out of left field. sudden mention of Miorine's mother and the tomatoes. Now, we see that in the opening, right? Tomatoes on a bench or a table, and Miorine's mother and Miorine eating those tomatoes, playing with them or whatever. But it's been a long time since we've last had a mention of Miorine's mother. And apparently she encoded some message in the tomatoes. Good tomato, and we're gonna grow some more of them. That sounds like a death flag for one of them. It better not be, but it certainly sounds like it. Permit link established with Calibarn. To avoid being overridden, you have to clear score 5. Didn't Elon mention score 8 being necessary? I don't know. Calibarn doesn't have any filters to reduce feedback from the data storm, but it can produce and maintain a higher score with the same amount of permit. So, in a filtered Gundam, you enter permit score 3, and that's about as far as you can push it. And the effects of the data storm are bearable. Example numbers, because I don't know at which permit you start dying. Meanwhile, Caliban is unfiltered, so that same amount of damage from a data storm you get at permit score 5 or 6, for example. So you can go higher with the same amount of effort, but there are no fail-safes. So if you want to jump straight into permit 18, you can just jump straight into permit 18 and it's gonna instantly fry your brain. Meanwhile, a regular Gundam like Michaelis or whatever other will just not allow that. Maybe. Something like that. I'm not sure. Someone's probably gonna analyze it to shit and back, and I'm gonna read about it on Reddit, so... Since her body is nearly identical to Eric, so you have strong resistance. That's cool, that's interesting. But unlike her, you can't coexist with the data storm. I wonder why. Eric had a blue data storm on her face and seemed unaffected by it, even by the highest permit scores. Meanwhile, Suletta is very much affected by it. Thrall. Why does it say Thrall here? Raising score, plus 5 points, internal permit score, and it's orange, it's red. So it's the bad data storm that kills you. Blue data storm doesn't kill you. White data storm turns you into a god, red data storm kills you. So I was hoping we were gonna see blue, but alas. Hyperventilation, pain, the usual effects of a data storm, but she pushes through. And here, when we saw so many shots on Suletta's face, permit 4, and she enters the matrix, and it's blue, yeah. And the close-up on the light on Caliban's forehead, I really thought it's gonna just slowly turn blue. Alas, it's losing a little bit of light, and Elon notices it for some reason. Score 5, and I really thought right by now it should be turning blue. Any moment now. Just that's why I was sitting here like that, ready to snap when it turns blue, but it didn't. But Suletta withstood permit 5 and seems mostly unaffected by it, which is interesting. Reactivation of permit reactor, of course. Yeah, what is this spherical thing? Oh, is it... That's where... Oh, it's a transport pod. They are all inside of it. Okay, I get it. I get their plan now. Suletta is supposed to distract Eri and Prospera and Gandvolvas. Meanwhile, Chuchu sneaks in with that transport, drops everybody in, and everybody rushes into Quiet Zero and shoots everybody on board. It's a repeat of the Vanadis incident, and they shut down Quiet Zero. That's probably the plan. Let's see what she can do. Yep. Interesting that only Ilan is sideways. I wonder if there is any symbolism to that. Maybe, probably. Even Shadik is like sensing some disturbance in the force. Oh, they're going. Permit pattern detected. Yep. It's Caliban. With Suletta on board. Man, Quiet Zero is massive. And it seems like those Gundvolvas have additional Gund bits. Interesting. So Eddie controls Quiet Zero, that controls Gundvolvas, that control Gund bits. How many more levels in can we get? Can Gundvolvas control Gund bits that separate into smaller Gund bits? I don't know. Maybe. Caliban is cool. And also interesting that Caliban is completely white, just like Suletta's holder outfit. She's literally a white knight in a white horse right now. Symbolism! White knight on a white horse. And blue beams. We're ditching the training beams. We're going full green. And this helmet has some connection to a data storm. That's what allows Prospera to converse with Eri from wherever she is. She doesn't need to be inside of Ariel's cockpit. She's just constantly connected to a data storm, essentially. And it is Suletta. And she seems kind of disappointed. Prospera, right? So, it's Suletta after all. It came to that, didn't it, huh? I left her, I allowed her to go to, you know, live happily without any Gundam, and she came back. Shit. We're probably gonna have to fight. God fucking damn it. I wonder if it's gonna be another thing, another parallel to The Tempest by Shakespeare. Prospero in The Tempest also gives up eventually. He gives up his magic. He frees whoever, whatever, and like again, I haven't read it. I'm just repeating what I've read on, I think, Tumblr. That Prospero can't fight with his children or something like that, and just gives up being a villain. He's just like, okay, I'm just gonna disperse the tempest that's all over the island. I'm gonna give up my magic willingly. You won. So I wonder if we're gonna see something similar. And then Prospera gives herself up willingly. Space Assembly League and Pale, come in, get the technology from Quiet Zero and start fucking with that. And Season 2 is trying to defeat the Space Assembly League and Pale, and Prospera is on our side. Okay, I'm gonna note it down. I don't think the chances are particularly high, but sure. Season 2 is versus Space Assembly League and Pale, who fuck with Quiet Zero. And Prospera joins us. Perhaps piloting Caliban. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just, you know, spitballing here. It's Suletta after all. That's a cool weapon that Schwarzet has. People thought it might be a sword, but alas, it is not. It's a weird looking gun. Very Warframe looking gun. Okay, it kind of looks like a sword, actually. Yeah, it's a sword, but a gun. Sure. And it probably splits down the middle, or maybe unfolds the blades, right? The blades like come apart and create the cross guard, and then an energy blade comes from the middle. That's probably how it works. Who the hell's piloting it? Well, why? Your brother, of course. Lauda, who else? Oh, I didn't know what were those for thrusters, but they are a part of Caliban's weapon. It's a broom. It's a flying broom. It's a flying broom. Witch riding a broom. That warrants a screen cap. Of course a witch is riding a broom. Of course. Highest permit, white markings, white light. And here comes Eri. Sorry, Erikt. Let's not use pet names. Suletta doesn't use them. I came to stop you. Both of you. ED. Anything interesting in the ED? Oh, kind of red permit lights, and then whatever Gundam it is. Is it Ariel? Is it Caliban? No, it's Ariel. Punches through Suletta's heart, and she gets covered in blue light. So the good permit. Her hair gets freed, and from now on we only see blue permit. And by the end we see white permit. Oh man. Unrelenting tenderness. This is a great shot by Ryosuke Takeuchi. The entire gang is here. Everybody determined. Not the entire gang. Where the fuck is Cecilia? I guess it's all of the people involved right now, and Cecilia stayed behind at Asticassia, but I miss Cecilia. What an episode. Oh boy. What an episode. Almost 2 hours I've been talking. An hour and 43 minutes and 24 seconds right now. Oh. A lot happened in this episode for sure. A lot of things many things came completely out of the left field. I'm gonna be honest. If there's one criticism I have for this episode, is that it could use those few more minutes, you know? Just few more minutes. Make it a 30-minute long episode, right? Or skip the ending, or skip the opening, or something like that, and have those few more minutes to give us the transition between Suletta and Guel talking, and Suletta and Guel dueling, right? Just calling someone for dueling gear, or going somewhere to wear the dueling gear, right? Like, okay, you want to duel, then follow me. We're gonna get some rapiers and some gear, and we're gonna duel. And a tiny little scene of Suletta being like, what? Huh? We're not gonna use mobile suits? You know, something like that. Some moment somewhere, perhaps at the beginning or near the end, or rather right before Miorine hears that Delling woke up, some bit of information that, hey, Delling woke up. Maybe some news piece. You know, Earth House is still at their base, sitting there, and there is a TV with a news bar going that Delling Rembran has woken up. And then they go out, and the episode starts the way it started. It was really missing those tiny little connective bits. Bits that aren't strictly necessary. It's not like the episode lost much by not including those, but it would be a little bit smoother if those things, those transition pieces, were included. Really, a lot of things happened completely out of the left field. A lot. It didn't, lower my enjoyment of the episode, but it's still something that bears mention. Many things happened in this episode that seem very small and very insignificant, but actually change a lot. The realization that Suletta's dreams are not her own. The win with Guel. The little scene at the door between Miorine and Suletta. These patients who now need to take care of the animals, right? All those tiny little things that matter, that have a lot of meaning, that are packed with meaning, with things that can change our outlook on everything that happened. And again, I'm plenty sure that if I or someone else was to rewatch the series, they were to pay attention, they would actually notice that whenever Suletta crosses something out of her list, whatever she did to do that actually helped Prospera somehow, in a direct or indirect way. What else about this episode? It felt so short, and yet so many things happened. It was so dense, but pretty much the first quarter of it was just an opening sequence, essentially. So I guess that's why it felt so short. Miorine finally being going through that sort of a protagonist transformation that Suletta didn't really go through, which is interesting, because I thought Suletta is going to have the moment of falling completely to the bottom and then being reborn, being rebuilt. She did have the moment of being reborn, with a lot of symbolism supporting that, right? Being ejected out of Ariel's womb, her first food being milk soup. Suletta was never actually born, was she? She's a clone. This wasn't a rebirth. It was birth. Wait. I think I'm onto something. We're not seeing Suletta's rebirth. We're seeing her birth. Before her birth, she was an extension of Prospera. She did whatever Prospera said she has to do, whatever Prospera asked her to do. She didn't have her own goals, just Prospera's. She didn't have her own dreams, just Prospera's. She wasn't a person. She was a hollow husk. Then she was born. She drank some milk, her first food after being born, and she now is her own person. She makes her own decisions. She's proactive. She decides for herself. She sets her own goals, and she has her own dreams. Yep, it wasn't a rebirth. It was a birth. Yeah, I'm onto something. I'm 100% sure I'm onto something. What was I talking about before I jumped to that? Right. That Suletta didn't go through the whole thing of being broken and depressed and sulking and then rising up from that point, because she was kind of dragged out of it, and she never was sulking that much to the point that Miorine did. Miorine went through that protagonist crash and burn and then rebirth like a phoenix. Right? She wanted to do good, she was doing good, she was doing what she thought is ethical and good. Then everything completely crashed, completely went to shit. She was at the lowest of the low. And then she's rising up again as her own person. But for Miorine, it is a rebirth. No rebirth symbolism, sure. More like an ego death and rebirth, more in that sense. Kind of sort of deal. She went to the very bottom, so now the only way to go is up. She went through a very, not very, but a kind of a similar arc to Guel's. Right? Guel also had to go to the very bottom to be a prisoner on Earth, only to climb back up with newfound conviction and newfound strength and newfound drive. The same thing that Miorine went through, very protagonist arc. Suletta, meanwhile, is eluding many of those protagonist tropes, which is very interesting. Okay, anything else that comes to mind? I wonder what Shadik's role is gonna be, because he's imprisoned, sure, and Miorine apparently wanted a trade with him. I've no clue what that thing was about. Also kind of came out of left field. Kind of seemed like Miorine asserting dominance. Kind of like saying, "Oh, Shadik, I'm no longer your pawn. I'm my own person, and I'm gonna go and do a thing." I'm not sure. Overall, the episode feels a little bit jumpy, if that makes sense, but it doesn't detract from it. We just jump a lot from one basically unrelated moment and scene to another basically unrelated moment and scene. It's kind of odd, but not off-putting. I wonder what's gonna happen to Suletta at Permit 5. It affects her. It very much does. She is hyperventilating. She is going through a data storm event of some intensity. Probably not life-threatening yet, but it might be in a long term. So I wonder if she's somehow going to break through it. Maybe just brute force her way to synchronizing with a data storm the way Eri did, or is something else is going to happen? Is Eri perhaps going to defect from Prospera? That's a possibility. Eri is going to jump into Caliban. Maybe. Is it possible? Sure. Plausible? Not sure. I guess worth noting down. Eri defects and enters Caliban to help Suletta. Maybe Suletta is trying to enter higher permit scores and her life is in danger, and Eri genuinely wants to help her sister, genuinely wants to protect her. And what's the best way to protect the pilot from a data storm? Well, enter that Gundam and become that protection. I might be onto something here. Maybe. Not sure. We'll see. What am I expecting from the next episode? Some sort of a clash. I'm just not entirely sure what sort of a clash it's going to be. The simplest outcome, of course, is Suletta in Caliban versus Eri in Arial. Fight. Duel it out. Simple, straightforward. But I don't think Suletta would want to fight her sister, and I don't think Eri would want to fight her sister either. And I don't think Prospera would want her daughters to fight. So the possibility is there and the simplicity is there, but I don't think there is a will to do that. The clash could be entirely with words, right? Suletta somehow convincing Prospera to give up, to not follow through, to not do that. Perhaps even Eri sacrificing herself to not draw Prospera to do more crime, right? Eri just blinks out of the existence, maybe crushes herself into a sun or whatever, and Prospera now has no reason to do the Quiet Zero thing. Something along those lines, maybe. A very tragic possibility that came to my mind is a repeat of Elan and Noria situation, where Noria turned to the bright side and then was killed. Suletta talks with Prospera and manages to convince Prospera to, give up. To, hey, you can use your helmet to talk with Eri at any time. You don't need to cover the entire solar system with your Quiet Zero bullshit. And then Kenanji bursts through the door and shoots Prospera in the head. That would be a tragic end, but not out of brand for the show. I mean, we had the exact same thing happen with Noria and Elan after all. I'm just not sure if they would repeat that. So that's a little bit of an insurance that maybe they won't go for it. Another possibility is, of course, going with the themes of Tempest and Prospera deciding that, what the fuck am I doing actually? I'm trying to bring my daughter's ghost to this world, and to do that I'm killing so many people. I'm hurting my physical daughter that I actually have. Just stop the Quiet Zero. Stop this madness. Begin self-destruction. Let's run, Suletta. Let's escape. Let's go into Ariel and escape. Something like that. Maybe. Or Suletta gets Prospera's attention, Space Assembly League rushes in, starts blasting Quiet Zero, everything falls apart and starts burning, and Prospera sacrifices herself to save Suletta. Puts Suletta inside of Ariel, opens the dock, vents them out, and herself dies in the flames. There's plenty of ways it can go. So I really find it... Well, no, I'd be lying if I said that I find it hard to speculate on the topic. Precisely because it's so open, I find it easy to speculate on the topic. But I just don't see a point, I guess, to speculate. Because if anything can happen, then I have an infinite amount of possibilities that I can go with. And that's not really a speculation, is it? If I can just throw whatever and it's plausible, right? Anything else? Yeah, I guess my biggest question so far is what's gonna happen to Suletta. How is she going to overcome Permet 5? Is she going to overcome Permet 5, or is it going to be a bad end for her? And what's gonna be Chuchu's role? And if she's going to be fine, I hope she's going to be fine. I swear to God, she better be fine. Yeah, I think that's it. Holy shit, it's almost 2 hours. Yeah, that's gonna be a long video. Hopefully you can excuse me and forgive me for that, but there was a lot to talk about. What can I say? But yeah, I think that's gonna be it. And maybe you guys have something to talk about though, and if so, my comments are open right below this video, where you can talk about whether you like this episode or not. What did you think of it? What did you think of my reactions, my theories? Do you agree with them? Do you have your own theories? Say it all in the comments. There's also Discord open, link here also in the description. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but please tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Gundam, but also other shows like Ancient Magus Bride, Symphogear XV Ended, but the concert is going to be streamed whenever it becomes available in here. Madoka Magica is something I'm gonna be starting again from the movie, and then Magia Record and other shows that will be coming in the future. Click the bell icon to be notified of whenever I go and stream and go live. Symphogear concert, whenever it is available, will be streamed live, precisely. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon, for example, linked below in the description as everything, where for $10 a month you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear, like Madoka Magic and others, and for just a single $1 a month you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits that you will see very, very shortly. Or if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, share my content, spread the word. It costs you absolutely nothing and helps the channel a lot. If you like any of my theories, hey, link it on r/Gundam and tell that theory and link the source, my video, and maybe it's gonna bring some new viewers, who knows. So, with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today, and yeah, that's gonna be it. So, as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's the list of my wonderful Patreons: QB, Without a Net, Fruit, Zay Rainer, Akomancer, Yuki Ally, Fassel, Dr. Watt, Marsh, and Hans Peter, and you can join them without the need to synchronize with a data storm.